What is educational neglect? Have you ever wondered what educational neglect really means? Educational neglect is a serious form of child maltreatment. It occurs when a parent or caregiver fails to ensure that a child receives the education required by law. This can happen in several ways. For instance, a child may not be enrolled in school at all. Alternatively, a child may face chronic absenteeism, meaning they miss school frequently without a valid reason. Sometimes, educational neglect can involve failing to provide appropriate, home-based education or neglecting to obtain necessary special education services for children with learning needs. In many places, educational neglect is considered a type of abuse or neglect, although not all states include it in their official definitions. From a clinical perspective, educational neglect can have significant impacts on a child's development and overall well-being. Children who experience educational neglect may fall behind academically. They might struggle with social skills and face an increased risk for emotional and behavioral problems. These challenges can continue into adulthood, potentially leading to difficulties in employment, relationships, and overall quality of life. When we look at educational neglect through the lens of trauma, it is recognized as a form of chronic developmental trauma. While it may not always involve overt physical or emotional abuse, the persistent failure to meet a child's educational needs can create an environment of instability and insecurity. Over time, this can lead to feelings of worthlessness, anxiety, and a sense of being unsupported or invisible. For some individuals, these experiences may be linked to symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, especially if the neglect is compounded by other forms of abuse or adverse childhood experiences. It is crucial to understand that not all children who experience educational neglect will develop post-traumatic stress disorder. However, chronic neglect, including educational neglect, is a known risk factor for trauma-related mental health issues. The impact of educational neglect can be particularly severe when it occurs alongside other forms of maltreatment, such as physical or emotional abuse. In mental health and trauma-informed care, recognizing the signs of educational neglect is essential. Clinicians and educators are encouraged to assess for educational neglect when evaluating children for trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder. Early identification and intervention can help mitigate long-term negative outcomes. In summary, educational neglect is a serious form of child maltreatment with far-reaching consequences for development and mental health. In the context of post-traumatic stress disorder, it is considered a type of chronic trauma that can contribute to emotional and psychological distress. Addressing educational neglect requires a comprehensive approach that includes legal, educational, and mental health interventions to support affected children and families. Always consult with qualified professionals for assessment and treatment recommendations.